Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 347 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by former heavyweight world title challenger Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing this week, my man?
I'm doing really good, man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. Always good. I'm going to dive straight into the review part of the show here. This one took place at the Motorpoint Arena in Cardiff, Wales, United Kingdom. It was live on DAZN. I'm going to start with the undercard. Gamal Yafai now 19-2. A TKO in round 4 against Sean Kearns, who's now 8-4. Kearns down in the third round and again in the fourth. Sky Nicholson with a good win as well. She's now 4-0. She won every round. 8-rounder, 8 2-minute rounds against Gabriella Bouvier, who's a former world champion, now 15-11 with a draw. Sky Nicholson still yet to get a knockout, 4-0, all 4 wins on points. But I tell you what, she's looking really good, really skillful, and I cannot wait to see her future unfold. I think she may have something special in the locker, maybe potentially a future world champion. I think I wouldn't bet against it, that's for sure. Dalton Smith with a win as well. He's now 11-0. His opponent retired on his store after 6 rounds, Mauro Perueni. Dalton Smith, a good win for him once again, another knockout win. I believe he's now 11-0 with 9 KOs, I think. That one was for the WBC International Silver Super Lightweight title. Peruan down once in round 6. Farouk Kurbanov as well. He's now 19-4. Really strange. He boxed Joe Cordina, I think it was last time out, and he lost by majority decision. He got absolutely played with really by Zelfa Barrett here, who's now 28-1. It was for the EBU European Super Featherweight title. I think I'm pretty sure Korbanov was the champion, so now Zelfa Barrett has the title. Really pleased for him. Like I say, massive fan of what they've been doing with him lately. They finally let him off the leash, and he is a lot better than people first thought he was. So I think he's starting to kind of show his worth, let's say, and he's a European champion. It's brilliant for him. There's only one way, and that is up. And the main event, Kenichi Ogawa, now 26-2 with a draw. He was knocked out in 2 rounds by Joe Cordina, who's now 15-0. He's now the IBF World Super Featherweight champion. Ogawa knocked out with that right hand. I tell you what, it was shocking. It really was, because no one expected this. A lot of people were picking Ogawa, despite the champion being the underdog. People were still picking him. So a lot of people felt that, Cordina perhaps was biting off more than he could chew, and he had a lot of pressure on his shoulders. The fight being in Wales, he's going to become, I think, the 13th Welsh world champion and all the rest of it. A lot of people were in attendance, wanted him to win, Joe Calzaghe and many more Welsh boxing champions. So a lot of pressure was definitely on his shoulders, and Ogawa didn't really have the pressure. And like I say, I was very, 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 very shocked by the outcome, the finish. I think the first round was quite a good round, to be honest. And Ogawa, I felt, was putting the left hook out there and kind of, I felt, proving that Joe Cordina was open for a nice big left hook. And I thought that maybe that was going to be the money punch for Ogawa. And it ended up not going much longer than that, to be honest, because Joe Cordina early on in that second round feinted with the jab and come straight over the top with a right hand, right on the button, and out went Ogawa. He was down, he tried to get back up, he fell down again, and Cordina now undefeated world champion. And Shakur Stevenson was watching the fight, I believe, and he's already started calling him out, so perhaps that's one for the future there. Moving out now to the Armory in Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. It was on Showtime. We're going to start with the undercard. A couple fights to mention. Friend of the show, Malik Warren with a win. He's now 7-0. A KO in the first round against Pedro Hernandez, who's now 7-12 with a draw. We had Carl Dargan. He's now 20-2. He was knocked out in the first round against Alfredo Santiago, who's now 14-2. David Morrell, I mean, he just really walked through his opponent. He's now 7-0. Really excited to see him in big fights down the line. A TKO in round 4 there against Calvin Henderson, who's now 15-2 with a draw. That one was for the WBA World Super Middleweight title. And the main event, Stephen Fulton, now 21-0, successfully defended his WBC and WBO World Super Bantamweight titles against Danny Roman, who's now 29-4 with a draw. For Danny Roman, if he were to have won that fight, he had previously been the unified IBF and WBA world champion. So if he were to beat Stephen Fulton for the WBC and WBO Super Bantamweight titles, he would have had the full set, even though he was unified champion at 2 different times. So that would have been excellent, and half of me wanted that for him. But I mean, the fight itself, it was incredible. I was really impressed with Stephen Fulton. I say it was incredible. To be honest, it was incredible for Stephen Fulton. I think, I didn't go too heavy on my analysis of the fight, but I think maybe you could give Roman maybe round 3 and maybe round 7. Like I said, didn't strictly score it. I was watching it on an iPad, and it kind of clashed a few of the rounds with the Haney fight, which we'll get to. But yeah, Fulton for me, man, so impressive. You know, I've been a believer of his for quite a while now. I think he has it all. He's got ridiculous athleticism. He's huge for the weight, 122. He's a sharp puncher. He's got a good jab. He's got great feet. He can box. He can fight. He can adapt during a fight. He's got good speed. He's strong. He's got good lateral movement and reflexes. He's got a good judge of distance. He switches stances here and there. He's got a great engine. He's super fit. He's got a seemingly good chin, and he wants all the smoke. He won the title when he beat Angelo Leo. Then he unified straight away against Brandon Figueroa. Then in his next defense, he takes on a former unified champion here against Danny Roman, a man that no one really needed to fight or wanted to fight. Who would want to give him a chance? He's usually a really formidable opponent, and Stephen Fulton didn't make it look like that. He pretty much dominated 10 of the 12 rounds, and he beat him easier than anyone else has. And he does want that undisputed fight next, and like I've said before, no one can complain about anything to do with Stephen Fulton. In round 11 as well, I want to touch on that round there. Fulton really seemed to up the pace and started to beat Roman up. I was a little bit wrong. It wasn't as good as the Fulton-Figueroa fight, because I thought it was going to potentially be like a little bit of a repeat, but it wasn't the same fight at all. It wasn't as competitive. Stylistically, Fulton was a bit of a nightmare for Roman, which I didn't think would be the case, but it unfolded in front of our eyes. And Roman, you know, he was always going to be as tough as old boots and hang in there and show that Mexican spirit. And very, very classy guy as well, Danny Roman. He even said after the fight that Fulton is the best in the division, and he proved it in this fight, and he wished him all the best if he does get the Murodjon Akhmadaliev fight for all the marbles. Very classy guy is Danny Roman. And they even said to Roman, like, do you think ring rust played a part? And he chose to say he's not making any excuses. So yeah, my pick all along was Fulton on points, and that's what happened. I just didn't expect it to be that wide, and I just think Fulton is going to be a problem for anyone in and around that weight, because I mentioned he's big at the weight, and I just can't really see a flaw in him. And I've got to say, I don't know if many other people are saying this, but he is on. I think he's probably, dare I say it, definitely getting in the top 10 of my pound for pound list. I think he's somewhere near the top end, of course. I mean, like the bottom end, like around, you know, the somewhere between 6th and 10th. But he is crashing into the list, I've got to say it. And I think, you know, there's a big fight for him that can perhaps be made down the line with Inoue, which we're going to also get to. But very, very impressed with Stephen Fulton. And I've outlined so many things he does really well, Eddie, because there's not too many things he doesn't do well.
I agree 100%. You know, I used to watch him back in the day because we actually come up in the same gym. Well, actually, he was a lot younger than me. And he's always had good quality. He's always been really talented. But, you know, as a kid, you watch a kid like that coming up and they're playing around. You'll see him right around the gym, and, you know, joking. And he always just wondered, will they be able to take the game serious and really do what they need to do, take this step, the next steps up to be at the next level, to be a championship level fighter, to be even a contender or even a contender. So, you know, seeing him now seemingly doing all the work he needs to do, which is pretty obvious, his motor is crazy good. He's always in shape. He's always ready to go to the next level with it. You know what I mean? Whether it be it, you know, boxing or picking up the punch count. You know what I'm saying? You know, he even fought Angelo Leo in his own way, coming to him, bringing the fight to him, throwing more punches. You know what I mean? Pressing him at times. So it just made it so much more sweet. You know, so much sweeter once he got the belt there. And just in general, just watching him and how he's been since he's won the title, he's just upped it. You know what I mean? It's like every single time he gets a little bit better. So it's refreshing to see. He's one of the best fighters, or the best fighter at that weight. And I think the sky's the limit for him. He just has to continue to keep his confidence up and also to keep his work ethic really high. And I think, like I said, the sky will be the limit and will stay that way.
And we're going to move now to the Marvel Stadium in Docklands, Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. This one over here, a big one for the Aussies. I mean, let's talk about the guys on the undercard. Friend of the show, Andrew Maloney, now 24-2. His opponent, Alexander Espinoza, retired on his store after just 2 rounds. He said, I don't think he could see out of his right eye or something like that. Something was wrong with his eye. So good win there for Andrew Maloney, and his brother Jason Maloney again with a win. So he's now 24-2. As I said on last week's show, both twins are identical and their records are also identical. They both picked up knockout wins and they're both 24-2. He was able to TKO in 3 rounds Aston Palicte, who is now 28-5 with a draw. Palicte down twice in that 3rd round. It was for the WBC Silver and WBO International Bantamweight titles. And let's get to another fight on the undercard. A huge upset in the heavyweight division. Junior Farr, 19-1, coming off that loss to Joseph Parker last time out. He got in with Lucas Browne, who I think is 43 years of age, and you know, I've always had a soft spot for Lucas Browne, and I'm hoping that he's going to be the guest on this week's show, and I'm going to probably find out in about 10 minutes time if he's going to be the guest. So I'm hoping that we do manage to get him on. Otherwise, we're going to have to get someone else on at late notice. But anyway, Lucas Browne, you know, went from being a bouncer, you know, a doorman, and then goes on to, you know, turn to boxing and ends up winning a heavyweight world title, you know, in Russia, which was incredible. And then, of course, when he had the accusations against him and he got stripped by the WBA, and you don't know what to believe, he seems like a really genuine guy. And then, obviously, he was up in age and he didn't really have that technical know-how, and it's kind of unraveled very, very quickly because he doesn't have those boxing basics instilled in him, and he didn't do it the traditional way. So for him to do what these guys have been doing for 20 years when he's 43 or 42 or whatever he is, it's very difficult. So we've seen the fall. The fall has been very drastic, from winning a heavyweight world title to being knocked out by the likes of Dave Allen and others. And yeah, he looked like he was there for the taking, really, for the last couple of years. And I think he got knocked out by a rugby player or something in like a round maybe a year and a half ago. Then he come back against a guy who he was supposed to lose to and he knocked him out. I think it was late in the fight as well. And this fight here, he was expected to get knocked out early again, and he manages to upset the odds once again. So 2 really good wins in a row for Lucas Browne. He said he feels better than ever, and he was able to knock out Junior Farr in just the 1st round. He's now 31-3 and Junior Farr's 19-2. It was for the WBA Oceania and vacant IBF Australasian heavyweight titles. Really pleased for Lucas Big Daddy Browne. And getting on to the main event, George Kambosos Jr. now 20-1. He was dethroned of his titles, and Devin Haney now has all 4. He's the undisputed lightweight world champion, WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO. 28-0, Devin the Dream Haney. Little bit of a soft spot for both guys. Both guys been on the show before. I think only one time, to be honest with you. But I like both guys. I really like George Kambosos and his insane belief in himself. And Devin Haney, I mean, God, like, I was quite critical of his opponents for quite a while, but recently I think he's really stepped up, beating the likes of Jojo Diaz and Kambosos here in this fashion. I gave Haney maybe about 11 out of the 12 rounds. At times it was like a bull and matador type boxing match, but to be honest, calling Kambosos the bull is almost giving him too much credit. Devin was both the bull and the matador at times, and Kambosos was almost like a spectator. The jab for Devin Haney was a huge weapon, and I was really surprised with the almost lack of intelligence in George's boxing, because we saw him box Teofimo Lopez and he almost looked like the most intelligent fighter in the whole world. He fought to a perfect game plan and he executed it perfectly, and everything he did was great. The judge of distance, when to throw, when not to throw, something Eddie likes to go on about, leaving your head on the line and taking it off. And for this fight here, I didn't see much head movement. When he got into position, he didn't let his hands go in combinations, and he just decided that he's going to throw singular shots. And I don't know why, but he was boxing like as if he thought he had Deontay Wilder's power in his right hand or something. And straight after the fight, of course, there's a rematch clause, and there should be. He had a lot on the line, but it's a rematch that no one wants to see at all. But I'm guessing it probably will happen. So yeah, I really like Kambosos, so I don't want that to come across as hate, but I've really struggled to give him 2 rounds, and I can't see anything more than that. I'm not sure if you saw anything of it, Eddie, but Devin Haney put on a boxing clinic.
Yeah, I seen it. Seen it from round 1 to 12, and they were carbon copies almost of each one of them of the one before it. So, and some rounds looked worse than others, and I think, sometimes when you watch a fight like that where a guy's just dominating, when the other fighter does a little bit better than what you're used to seeing in that fight, sometimes you're tempted to give him the round thinking that he's done enough. And to be honest, I don't know if there was any round that he did. Maybe the second, I think it was the second round, possibly. But Devin Haney, man, once he got behind that jab and really educated it and kept it moving and was changing levels with it, He was creating space, closing the distance when he didn't. And the one thing I really like about what he did, and which allowed him to, not to take Nazim's words or his phrases, but swim without getting wet, because there was a lot of times he was getting punches thrown at him and he was just grabbing air. He was just hitting air, and I think it was he wasn't giving him a turn. Like, a lot of times you'll see fights where, it's an exciting fight. One guy goes, and then the other guy goes, and then one guy goes back, and the other. Well, he wasn't really giving him the opportunity to do that. He was using distance, and then when he decided that he didn't want to be at distance and he wanted to get close, and he didn't want Kambosos to be offensive, he would just clinch or get too close or get into a position where Kambosos didn't really have a shot to throw. You know what I'm saying? And that is excellent ring IQ. That is what boxing is all about. Doing things like that, keeping a guy in a position that he just doesn't have a chance. And, even though Kambosos is a pretty good puncher, he's a tough guy. He's, he seemed to be a pretty decent boxer with a great IQ, like you mentioned against Teofimo Lopez. But Devin Haney showed that there's definitely levels to it. And as far as the rematch clause, I mean, you have to do it. If you're Kambosos, you have to. And you just have to go back to the drawing board and work. I don't want to say twice as hard, but work twice as smart, and try to figure out something that you could possibly do to maybe nullify. I didn't say nullify, but to at least combat his jab a little bit. You know what I mean? To contain his offense in some way. You know what I mean? You might have to make it a little ugly. You might have to get a little overly aggressive to give yourself a chance. But to be honest, and I kind of agree. I agree with you, and I agree with most guys who were saying it's just like a fight. It's a rematch that you just really don't want to see. You love Kambosos, you love his attitude, and like you said, his belief in himself. But it's sometimes hard It's almost as bad as looking at Shakur Stevenson and the guy he just previously fought. You know, what? Even though the guy was
Oscar Valdez.
Oscar Valdez, yeah. It's like, why would he want that rematch? Oscar Valdez took a pretty good beating. You know what I'm saying? Why would he want that rematch? But if there was a rematch,
I think a better example, Eddie, and sorry to butt in, but I think a better example is Rolly and Gervonta. Why would Rolly want that rematch a bit? That's probably a better example.
No, what I was saying I wouldn't think Oscar Valdez would want a rematch either. I thought he got dominated badly in that fight.
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at both of those fights. But even with Rolly actually has. I was winning the fight and I got caught with a shot. In your crazy mind, you could think that was just a lucky shot, or it was just a situation where if I was just a little more careful, I would have won the fight. With these other two guys, with Valdez and with Kambosos, man, I think they were both soundly beaten, and that's why I'm saying it would be almost as if Valdez wanted a rematch. Like, I want a rematch. I want to run it back. I want to give myself another chance in there. It's like you don't really have much of a chance. I didn't see anything that would kind of give me an inkling of why do you deserve another one, or why would you want one. But with Kambosos, he has to do it, and he has to find some way to make this fight more interesting. Because as it looks, it's probably not gonna be as not gonna be as many people there nor watching, because pretty much people know what to expect with this fight, and I think that's the only difficult thing about it. But he has to go back and do it again.
Well, on the plus side, I don't think he can lose it any worse than he did. Anyway, we don't want to see it again. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but we shall see. And the final card to mention in the review part of the show, it took place this Tuesday, just gone, Tuesday the 7th of June at the Super Arena in Saitama, Japan. This one over here only really going to go to the main event. It was for the WBC, WBA and IBF World Bantamweight titles. The rematch between Naoya Inoue, 23-0 now, and he was able to TKO in just 2 rounds Nonito Donaire, who's now 42-7. As I say, the first fight between these two guys, these two absolute warriors, was a great fight. One of the best fights I've seen for several years. It was a fantastic fight. This fight here wasn't the carbon copy, even though Nonito was able to go away and win a world title in that period after losing, when he was able to beat Nordine Ubali and stop him and look really good. And people were thinking, hey, Donaire seems like he's got the hunger back, or whatever it was, or he just seems like he's not on the slide like we thought he was, because he was a big underdog against Ubali, and the way he destroyed him was just wow. And so it just goes to show, it proved in the end, I guess, that Nonito is towards the end of his career, even though he's been able to roll back the clock and beat Father Time seemingly early on in the battle. But maybe that's a bit harsh. I mean, he's still able to beat a lot of the top guys. I just think, why on earth would you want to fight Inoue again? But he is such a crazy competitor. And the first round, I felt, was a really good round. It was interesting. Nonito was having little moments here and there, but Inoue was, I felt, on his way to winning the round. And with the last punch of the round, Inoue landed that short, chopping right hand that Nonito seemed to walk into, and Nonito went down. He didn't look badly hurt. He got back up, and it was a bit of a shame to give it away 10-8, to be honest. And then round 2, I mean, straight away, pretty much Inoue catches Donaire again, and he had him staggering all around the ring on wobbly legs, and it was sad to see Donaire that vulnerable. But it's credit to how good Inoue is, and he totally wiped Donaire out. And I've always had a massive soft spot for Donaire. I've said it many times, but I give him credit for chasing that rematch. Like I said, he didn't need to, but he is a crazy competitor with huge balls, and that could be the end for him. And if it is, boxing will miss him greatly. I haven't seen him release anything officially. But yeah, Inoue, too strong, too good, too youthful, too powerful. He is rightly in the top 5 in everyone's pound for pound list. Some people have even got him at number 1. Not sure if he's my number 1 at the minute, but he's right up there for good reason. And he has improved. If we thought Nonito had gone away and maybe improved a tiny bit by picking up a title, this man has improved again and again and again in that time as well. And he has some big fights to look forward to down the line. He wants to be undisputed at the weight. The only other belt he doesn't have is the one that belongs to Paul Butler of the UK. So if he can get the Paul Butler fight, I think no one would favour Paul Butler, unfortunately, even though he's a friend of the show. I'd love to see him pull off the unthinkable, but he would take Butler out quite early, I think within about 3 rounds, most people would feel. But Butler is, I don't know, yeah, he's not going to win that fight. And then he could move up in weight and box Stephen Fulton. That's one that a lot of people are talking about already. I think we should just let both fighters just have a little break. Fulton boxed on the weekend. I don't think he needs that fight at the minute. And Naoya Inoue still firmly has his sights set on all the belts at his weight. So I don't see him moving up just yet. But anyway, that is it for the review part of the show. The final thing I have to do before we wrap this part up is to welcome our special guest on this week's show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former WBA Heavyweight World Champion. It is, of course, Mr. Lucas Browne. Lucas, welcome back on the show, my man.
Thank you for having me, mate. It's always a pleasure.
Always is a pleasure, that's for sure. So, Lucas, we last spoke, it's been a couple of years actually, back in February 2020. At that time, we were discussing a fight you had penciled in with Otto Wallin, which of course got cancelled due to the coronavirus pandemic. Since then, you've had those 3 fights. The first one, I'm going to touch on briefly, the Paul Gallen fight. I hadn't seen Gallen fight before the fight, I mean to say, with you. The fact, though, that of course it was all over very quickly, I think had a lot of people thinking that Lucas must be done. Perhaps retirement is just round the corner. Can you understand why people would think that based on that bad performance that night?
Yeah, 100%. I can understand why they thought that, but at the same time, where his glove was and the wrappings around, like the tape around, he targeted the back of my head 5 times and in the process popped my eardrum. So it wasn't as if I basically, I don't have a bad chin. I was basically fighting cross-eyed and just didn't know what I was doing. So I was even trying to throw punches and stuff and I was just going everywhere. So yeah, unfortunately the balance went, and me losing to a footballer is always going to be on my record.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand that. But since then, you have been defying Father Time. Obviously, the come from behind knockout win against Opelu, and then this win on the weekend against Junior Farr. The odds on you knocking out Junior Farr in 1 round were 100-1. If only I could go back in time and put my house on that. Talk me through the fight, Lucas, the minute or 2 it lasted.
Basically, my thought process was to go in pressure straight off the bat. I have also found that one of the things I do is take my time and relax too much in the first round. So I wanted to come straight out, put the pressure on, and make him feel me. In saying that, I've been practicing over and over and over again on the Boxmaster that I have at home, that like overhand right, because he's a taller fella, he's 6'6". I thought I'd slip the jab and come straight through the overhand right, and it landed perfectly on his ear. And yeah, he shouldn't have been allowed to get up after that first one. He was well and truly gone and rocked, and even when he stood up, he was all over the place. And I knew basically I just had to throw one more punch. So I was assuming it was going to go a lot longer, maybe 6-7 rounds. But I'm extremely happy it ended the way it did.
No, absolutely. It was unbelievable. And Lucas, you mentioned there about, training at home. Am I right in saying that this time you trained quite a lot at home in comparison with previous fights?
Yeah, I haven't had a trainer for a couple of years now. Like, I just haven't bothered. So I've been training myself, obviously going around to different gyms and sparring and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of training and pad work and stuff, I haven't done that in about 2 years.
Okay, I didn't know that. So are you hard enough on yourself? Because sometimes people do this and there's no one to push them that extra mile. How does that work with you?
Well, I judge it by sparring. So I judge it by how I perform or how I don't perform in sparring and stuff. So that is always the key indicator to me as to where I am and what I need to work on, maybe fitness or obviously too heavy, speed, etc. And I am also testing myself constantly with different people. So tall ones, short ones, faster, lighter weights, like all sorts of stuff. So I'm very hard on myself in that regard, but I do understand what you're saying, yeah.
And where does this Junior Far win rank amongst the best wins of your career? It's got to be right up there, Lucas.
It is right up there. It's basically exactly what was needed. So for me, it's awesome. Like the win is just as big as maybe not a world title, but like a big title fight, because it shows people that I'm not done. It shows people that I can do it, and it showed me what I need to do from now on, rather than sort of just try and box. I'm just going to go in and bash people, and that's worked for me for so many years. Why go away from that? So that's all I'm going to do.
I'm sure the fans are going to love hearing that. And of course, we've got to mention that you've managed to get far out of there in just a round. Joseph Parker went the distance with him. How big of a statement do you think that makes in the division? You pretty much said there it's exactly what you needed, but it just proves once again that your right hand is still a lethal weapon.
Yeah, unfortunately, basically what's happened over, I don't know, say the last 5-6 years, I haven't been throwing my right hand in any sparring because I don't want to knock people out. I don't want to hurt people, etc. So I've gotten a little too comfortable with not throwing my right hand. So my entire purpose for that fight was just to throw the right hand and land. So yeah, from this point on, I think everyone's going to be very excited because I'm just coming to throw the bombs and that's it.
And you said to the cameras just seconds after you won the fight, you said, I'm 43, I feel better than ever, stronger than ever. I don't think you said it quite as clean as I just have, but is that all true? Do you really feel better than ever? And if so, how and why?
It's basically, I think my mind was in the perfect place. I realised that I probably looked like a little fat white boy, but it wasn't about that for me. It wasn't about, let's come out with the tan and be ripped and all this sort of stuff. It was all about me being in the right mental place, and it was absolutely perfect. So the reaction from me was also because I was proud. I haven't felt like that in so many years. So to come out and actually do that in front of what a crowd, what an event to do it at. So for me, it was just perfect. It was exactly what I needed, and it showed me personally that I can do it and can still be done.
No, I was really happy for you, man. It was brilliant. I know that since the fight, you've boarded a plane to Queensland and began sparring again already. Were you always that dedicated, Lucas? Because that's a very quick turnaround, especially for a heavyweight.
It was, I don't trust me, I well and truly wanted to have a week off, but I got a call on Tuesday from the guys that organise everything with Justice Huni, and they said, listen, his sparring partners have fallen through, can we get you up here for 6 rounds and we'll do media, like ride the media train and stuff? I said, well, honestly, I'm not doing anything, I might as well. So I've jumped up here, I've sparred 6 rounds with Justice Huni today, great, hard, competitive rounds, which is what I need. And tomorrow's the open workout. I'll go there and do a media coverage thing, and then I'll head home Friday night.
Excellent, man. And what is next for you, Lucas? What do you want to do next?
In all honesty, it's at this point in time in my life, it comes down to money. So I want nice, big, competitive fights. But I want the dollars to go with it. I want 3-4 more fights and then retire happy. 95% of my career earnings has been under 10 grand, all the purses. It's just not right for what I've done, what I've accomplished, what will go down in the Australian Hall of Fame for boxing and stuff. I don't have any money to back that up, and that's the problem. So I want good competitive fights. I think this will be perfect for that. And I'm just ready to sort of go out with a bang.
And you say there that obviously at this point in your career, and I make you right, it has to be about money. You're saying you've only got a few fights left in you. Is there any names on your radar at all, or have you not really thought about the names?
One thing I do want to do is definitely fight in UK again. I want to have one more before I retire. I think that'll be a great thing. Just for the experience, the way that the UK fans have always accepted me, and they love boxing. So for me, that is extremely important that I do something like that. If I do get to America, that'll be an awesome thing as well. I haven't fought there yet. But there is some speculation at the moment that Eddie Hearn is going to have a show with Matchroom in September in Australia. Yeah. So again, that's sort of a half for me. So I still get to stay in Australia, but it's on a big UK show, etc. So yeah, good exposure as well.
Yeah, it'd be great to have you back over here. Obviously, as you know, you're very welcome. I'm not so sure you'd be welcome in America after beating James Toney, Lucas, but we'll see. And just lastly, I want to just come to you for two fights that's happening in the heavyweight division. I'd like to just get your opinion on both of them just before we wrap it up.
Yep.
So Joshua Usyk, that rematch, which looks like it will be in August, and then a bit of a wild card one, Michael Hunter, Hughie Fury, July 2nd. If you can give me your opinion on both of those, how do you see them playing out, Lucas?
With the Hunter Fury one, unfortunately, from a fan's point of view, Hughie is just boring. He's a good boxer and everything else, but he runs away from everything. He never engages in a fight, and every fight that I've seen of his is just boring. So hopefully for Hunter, it'll be a bit more exciting. But for a fan's point of view, unfortunately, I'm just not interested in it because of Fury. With the Joshua Usyk one, that'll be sensational to watch again. Let's see if Joshua can make some adjustments like he did with Ruiz. He came back much stronger and smarter and did things right with the Ruiz number 2. But in saying that, I don't think that Usyk's going to come back fatter either. So yeah, I think Usyk is also an extremely smart and incredible boxer, being a lefty and being a cruiserweight coming up. So it's just great for that sort of fight. Is great for heavyweight boxing all round.
Yeah, we're certainly looking forward to it. And just finally, Lucas, if you've got any closing words just before we wrap it up, to anyone in particular, but especially the UK fans that support you over the years.
Yeah, Basically, I'm just coming to bang. There's no bullshit. There's no dramas. There's no roundabout way to say it. I'm going to go in and just bang. So watch the fireworks because they're coming.
I've said that to a few women in the past. It hasn't gone down well, but I like what you're saying, Lucas. Listen, it's always great speaking with you, my man. Congrats again on the win. Enjoy the time off if you're having any, and we'll speak again soon.
Much appreciated, my friend. Thank you very much.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. Jamal Charlo against Maciej Sulecki. It was supposed to be taking place June 18th in Houston. It's been postponed. A new date to be set. Charlo has suffered a back injury in training. So, unfortunately, that one has been pushed back. No date yet. I don't even think there's a rumoured date yet for that one. And it wasn't a fight that many people were looking forward to be completely honest. So hopefully it falls through. That's just me being selfish. But anyways, in other news, Derek Chisora will be rematching Kubrat Pulev. It's a rematch that not many people were interested in. I don't think it's on the same level really as Kambosos and Haney from the weekend, I think. But anyway, they're going to be getting it on. Derek Chisora coming off that loss, I think it was last time out, to Joseph Parker, where all of a sudden his punch resistance looked like it had left him as well. And Kubrat Pulev coming off a good win over Jerry Forrest, the guy that drew with Michael Hunter in the fight prior to that one. So Kubrat Pulev, even though I think he's probably a bit older, I'm sure he's definitely older than Chisora, but he seems to be in better form, and Chisora has been in so many wars. But anyway, it's going down July the 9th, live on DAZN at the O2 Arena in London. There's been some fights added to the Fury Hunter undercard on July 2nd in Manchester. We're going to see Adam Azim on the card. We're going to see the pro debut for Ben Whittaker, which I think we mentioned last week. We're also going to see Brad Ray, friend of the show, on the undercard, and Caroline Dubois as well. So that's going to be good for those guys there. And the final piece of news to mention is that Danny Garcia will be will be having his first fight at 154, which I still cannot believe he's up at 154. I don't think that's a good weight class for him. I think there was fights that I felt he lost at 140, moved up to 147. He was quite all right at 147, but 154 doesn't sit right with me. But anyway, he gets in with Jose Benavidez Jr. That one to take place July 30th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. So yeah, that'll be quite interesting. I think Benavidez, pretty sure he was the guy that was going to be the first guy to take Terence Crawford the distance since Crawford moved up to welterweight, and he's still been the closest to take him. He's almost took him the distance. He's been the closest to taking Terence Crawford the distance, and I think he was knocked out in the final round with about 30 seconds left on the clock. So yeah, that is it for the news. Moving on now to the preview part of the show. We're going to start here with this card. It takes place tomorrow at the Domo Alcalde in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. Over here, few fights to mention, not that many actually. Diego Pacheco, 14-0 in a 10-rounder against Raul Ortega, who's 10-2. We've got Jorge Castaneda, 15-1. I think last time out he beat Yusuf Kamari at the O2 Arena. He boxes for the WBC International Silver Super Featherweight title against Eduardo Perez, who's 31-1. And the main event for the WBA Super Light Flyweight world title, Hiroto Kayaguchi, 15-0 in a 12-rounder against Esteban Bermudez, who's 14-3 with 2 draws. Moving out now to this one, it also takes place tomorrow night at the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York, USA. It's going to be live on Showtime. Very happy for friend of the show, Tyler Tomlin, 13-0 in an 8-rounder against the undefeated Chan Thompson, who's 10-0. Somebody's must go there. Also on the card, Bakodir Jalalov, 10-0 in an 8-rounder against Jack Mulaway, who is 11-2 with a draw. That's about it for that one. Moving out now to this one. It takes place at the Wembley Arena in London. It's going to be on Sky Sports. It's a boxer show on Saturday night. Over here we have Joe Pigford, 19-0. I think he's got 18 KOs. No opponent just yet. We're going to see Vidal Riley, 5-0. I don't know who he's boxing either at the minute. And Lauren Price makes her hotly anticipated pro debut. Chris Congo, 13-1 in a good test against Sebastian Formella, who's 23-2, went the distance in his 2 losses to Sean Porter and Conor Benn. So Chris Congo, I think, has got his work cut out, really. He's a big favourite, which I was a bit surprised to see. It's for the vacant WBC International Silver Welterweight title. I think Chris Congo to win that one on points is a bit of a safe bet, really. Really good fight for the English super middleweight title between Jermaine Browne, 12-0 in a 10-rounder against Zach Chelly, who's 11-1 with a draw. That's going to be a real good fight, I think. And the main event, 2 very good fighters, actually. Richard Riakporhe, 14-0 in a 12-rounder against Fabio Turchi of Italy, who's 20-1. And he's been looking quite good of late, actually. I think he's boxed on a few Matchroom Italy shows. So if that's the same guy, he's not too bad. And it could be a test there for Riakporhe. Moving out now to the Telford International Centre in Shropshire. This one is also on Saturday night. It's going to be live on BT Sports, so there's going to be a couple of show clashes there on Sky Sports and on BT. We've got topping the bill Mark Leach, 18-1 with a draw in a 12-rounder against Liam Davies, who's 11-0. That's for the British Super Bantamweight title. It's going to be a cracker, I think. On the undercard, friend of the show, Willie Hutchinson, 13-1 in an 8-rounder against Karol Horsek, who's 18-13 with 3 draws. We've got Muhammad Ali on the undercard, 3-0 in a 6-rounder against Brian Morena, who's 11-27 with a draw. We also have Ayaz Ahmed, who's 10-2 with a draw. He's in a 12-rounder against friend of the show Casey Kademi, who's 8-1 with a draw. The 1 draw and the 1 loss both came to Ahmed. This is the 3rd fight between the pair. The first one was very close, and Ahmed managed to get it on the cards. The second one was really close. It ended in a draw. That one was at the back end of last year in Birmingham, and then this one here is the 3rd fight. It's for the vacant British Super Flyweight title. All the best, of course, to Casey Kademi there, but it's probably going to be a really close fight again because these guys are so close. You'd think they're elated. Yeah, moving out now to Arizona at the Glendale Civic Center. We've got Salem Urbina, friend of the show, the Mexican female in her hometown here because she's from Arizona. 12-2 with a draw in a 6 2-minute round contest. No opponent just yet, apparently, for her. Moving out now to the Honda Center in California. So that means there's going to be a card on DAZN on Saturday night as well. So there's a lot on TV, actually. Friday night on Showtime, Saturday night on Sky Sports. Also on Saturday night, we've got the BT card. Also on Saturday night / Sunday early hours for the UK viewers, we've got the DAZN stuff. And there's also another card as well on BT, which I'm going to get to. God, there's a lot going on. Jaime Munguia, 39-0 in a 12-rounder against Jimmy Kelly, who's 26-2. On paper, it's a shocking mismatch. However, I want to say I'm very happy for Jimmy Kelly to get this opportunity. I'm not sure if he deserves it, to be honest with you, but I remember when he got drawn in against Liam Smith for the world title in a weak defence for Liam Smith, and Liam Smith just battered him really and took him out. Well, that was almost 7 years ago now. Since then, he's put together some decent wins. He lost again to Dennis Hogan, but the last time out, that brilliant win he got against Kana Islam has set him up with this big fight here against Jaime Munguia. So I don't begrudge the opportunity, but I do feel like he's going to probably get stopped again because Munguia is looking pretty good at the minute. 39-0, 31 KOs. Nothing really else to mention on that undercard. Again, that's on DAZN. Moving out now to the Casino Miami J. Alay in Miami, Florida, USA. On the undercard, nothing really to mention, so I'm going to skip straight to the main event. Someone's going to go Trevor Bryan, 22-0, Don King Promotions for the WBA World Heavyweight title over 12 rounds. We're not going to need the judges. He gets in with the UK's Daniel Dubois. Can Daniel Dubois become WBA Heavyweight World Champion and pick up a belt quicker than Joe Joyce, the man who inflicted that one loss on his record? It's amazing how quick Dubois has gone from that loss straight into a big opportunity, and Joyce hasn't. He's kind of been a bit slow. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Trevor Bryan doing a lot of talking at the press conferences that I've seen and stuff like that, and I think he should calm down with that because he's going to annoy Dubois, and I think Dubois is going to brutally KO him, to be honest with you. But it's going to be interesting, and I think it's also going to be on early. I don't think it's going to be a late one. I think it follows the BT card, so from Telford straight to Florida. So I think it's going to be pretty much straight after. So it's not going to be super late for UK viewers. And then this one as well, I think is going to be on Sky Sports again, because I'm sure it's a top rank card. It's happening at the Madison Square Garden Theatre in New York. We've got Edgar Berlanga, 19-0 in a 10-rounder against Roma Alexis Angulo, 27-2. Angulo, I think, suffered his first or second loss to Benavidez. I think it was David Benavidez. It's for the WBO and ABO super middleweight title. So yeah, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, that means that we've got Friday night DAZN in Mexico with Kayaguchi and Bermudez, Diego Pacheco on the undercard. Showtime also on the Friday night with Jalalov and Tyler Tomlin. And then Saturday night on Sky, around kind of primetime UK, we've got Riakporhe topping that bill there. And that clashes with the Telford card between Mark Leach and Liam Davies on BT Sport. Then, straight after that on BT Sport, we've got Trevor Bryan and Daniel Dubois from Florida. And into the night, we've got DAZN with Munguia and Jimmy Kelly, and we've also got Sky Sports clashing with that, with Berlanga and Alexis Angulo. So there's a lot to go on there. That's about 6 cards within 2 days or something. And the final card to mention, it's not on TV, but it takes place at the Holy Wings Club in Jakarta, Indonesia. Friend of the show, Mark Demori, former Don King fighter, 39-2 with 2 draws, in search of win number 40 when he gets in with Satria Antasena, who's 5-19. That's over 10 rounds there. All the best to big Mark Demori. But that wraps up the preview part of the show. In part 1 we did the reviewing and we welcomed our special guest. In part 2 we did the news, and I've just wrapped up the preview part just there. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 347 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A huge thank you to our special guest this week, the former WBA Heavyweight World Champion Lucas Browne. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. There has been one piece of news break whilst we've been recording the show. It's another rematch, actually. We're going to be seeing Israel Madrimov get in once again with Michel Soro. That one's going to be on the undercard of Derek Chisora against Kubrat Pulev too. So 2 rematches there set for July 9th at the O2 Arena in London. That's about everything though from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.